let's learn how to do the Halls of Infusion bosses for Season 4 of Dragonflight. I'm going to show this in a really slowed down and digestible format for you. Starting off with the first boss, Watcher Irideus, the first thing you're going to see is that he starts at a very low health, meaning for those of us that have execute abilities, this is fantastic for our DPS. The first ability he's going to do is Titanic Fist. As the tank, you want to keep this away from the party, and that is the ability you see here. It's going to knock you down. He's then going to cast Static Surge after this, which is going to do group-wide AoE damage, as you can see here, and as the healer, you need to be prepared for this. Then he's going to cast Power Overload on 2 random players. This can be dispelled and should be placed outside of the raid. When you can see it then has this volley of lightning as well, and when it falls off, it drops this big circle that obviously will do damage to you if you stand in it. Now, you can dispel it, as I said. So as a healer, you can choose to dispel one person and then just spot heal the other person, or you can heal both and just let them both fall off. It really is up to you and depends on how you feel about healing the fight. Of course, if you're a priest, you could have people try and go to one and do Mass Dispel. That could be an option as well. But they will be taking damage when they get this. So you can see here as well, he's doing the AoE straight after. So for the healers, it's quite an intensive fight. Then we have stage 2 of the fight, which is going to be where he makes a shield on himself called Ablasive Barrier. And you can see he's cast that here. And then you can see here, and there's a third one coming here, nullification devices, right? So what you want to do is group up the nullification devices on top of the boss. And when they actually die, it will cast Nullifying Pulse here. So you can see they're doing Purifying Blast, which is going to target a random person and do damage. So you can use CC to then get past these Purifying Blasts and therefore not take any damage from them. But the Nullifying Pulse you see here, this is what we want to happen. This is actually, at the end of it, going to help get through his barrier. So when you kill all 3, they will each do the Nullification Blast, and those 3 Nullification Blasts are what are actually going to destroy the barrier. So TLDR, kill them on top of the boss. When they die, they cast a spell that destroys his barrier. As you can see, he's siphoning from this Titan relic here. Well, while he's doing that, he's actually growing in power. So you do, of course, want to kill the Nullification devices as quickly as possible. He's increasing his damage done by 2% every 1 second for 40 seconds. And that is going to be stacking the longer he's in that phase with the barrier up. And that is it. So again, take Titanic Fist outside of the group. Watch out for the AoE damage of Static Surge, like we can see here. If you get Power Overload on you, then walk out with the volley and place this at the outside of the room when possible. And as a healer, this is going to be a lot of healing involved. Dispel one person, both people, whatever you can do. But don't try and get it in the middle of the room here. If you dispel it right here, that isn't going to be good. And then when he puts up his ablative barrier, put the nullification devices on top of him, kill them on top of the boss so that it can remove the barrier. The longer he stays in this phase, the more damage he will do. Then we have the Gulping Goliath. Starting off, he's going to do Overpowering Croak, which is going to do massive AoE damage, as you can see here. And this is going to be really big on the healers. After that, you can see these brown swirlies on the floor, and the ceiling is actually going to fall down, and some frogs are going to fall out. Now, as a tank, what you're going to want to do is take all of these swoglets near the boss so that your group can cleave them down easily while also attacking the boss. Both the auto attacks from the main boss and the ads are going to apply a toxin to you called Gulp Swog Toxin. And it is actually going to kill you at 10 stacks. The end. Now, of course, you can dispel that poison, but again, you need to try and manage those stacks. Then what we're going to see the boss do is gulp, and it's saying run away. So he's actually going to want to eat somebody. Generally, the tank would do this because, of course, they're the least damage prone. And if he doesn't eat someone, and to be eaten, you stand in the green circle that you can see here. In that green circle, stand in there, and he's going to eat you when he's doing gulp. And if he doesn't eat anyone, he's going to get hangry, meaning it's going to increase his damage done by 50%. Of course, you can't let this happen, and therefore somebody does need to get eaten. That's, of course, a good place to actually use your cooldowns, etc., especially if you're a healer, like putting Iron Bark or something like that on them. Another thing he will cast is Toxic Efflueva. This, again, is a big AoE damage that your healer is going to have to heal, of course. And lastly, we have Belly Slam. When he casts this, get out of the area. And that's pretty much it. So don't forget to get eaten when he's hangry. Healers spot heal someone. Again, there's the Empowering Croak and the Toxic Effluea, or however you pronounce that. And basically that's AoE damage for healers as well. For the tank, get in those gulpers near the boss so that everyone can cleave them down and kill them as soon as possible. Remember, the auto attacks and also the little guys are actually going to stack a poison on you that at 10 stacks will kill you. Next up, we have Khajin the Undying. And you can see here that there are these icicles. And as you can see, this one looks really intact and very pristine, whereas this one is really cracked. So she's going to cast a spell, and well, they're called ice boulders, not icicles, but she's going to cast a spell, and you're going to want to hide behind them, and you always want to make sure you're not going behind one that is cracked, okay? Just to be aware of that. So the first thing she's going to do, as you can see, is cast Hailstorm, and we want to hide behind, again, the pristine ice boulders, and you can see then it's cracked it, and then the next time that one will actually break, and then we want to go behind a different pristine one. So you never want to go behind the cracked ones. After she does that, she's going to cast Glacial Surge, and around the boss you can see this dark icy patch. She's going to cast it, and then you move in because the glacial patch goes outside, so you move into where the old one was. Then she shatters that one, and then she does a bigger one, and again, you don't want to stand in that one. One thing to note about Hailstorm when you're moving to the boulders, it doesn't actually break your line of sight, and you can preemptively stand behind one as a DPS if you are ranged, etc. That is absolutely fine. For a tank, then, what you can do is obviously bring the boss close to an ice boulder so that the melee DPS can continue their DPS from behind the boulder if necessary. For the healers, she's actually going to be casting Polar Winds, or more, should I say, that's going to be there throughout the whole fight. This is a dot, and it's just going to be buffing away at your allies' health, and you just want to make sure you're keeping your allies topped up, so be aware of that. There is a continuous ticking damage that everyone will take. She will also throw jagged icicles at people with a spell called Frost Shock, and that's going to do massive damage to them and also slow them down. As healers, you can actually dispel the slow effect on the Frost Shock. One last thing she does is she's going to cast a Cyclone at someone and just bait this outside. It's quite actually a straightforward and simple boss. The main things really is the ice boulders and coming back and forth with Hailstorm, and then the dance party that you have to do afterwards with going in and out. Lastly, we have the Primal Tsunami here. This again is a 2-stage fight. And when he casts, or when he gets to 60% health, he's actually going to then cast Castaway. And that will begin stage 2. So first off, looking at stage 1 then, we can see he's casting Tempest's Fury. This is a massive AoE explosion of water. For the healers, make sure to keep everyone topped up. Like if you're a ramp healer, like Disc Priest or Druid, when he's casting that, you need to be ramping up for that incoming AoE damage. He's also going to cast Infused Globules, you can see here. This is going to make globules spawn. Avoid these at all costs. If you do hit them, of course it's going to do high damage, and it's also going to slow you as well. So again, do avoid these at all costs. The next thing we see him doing is Squall Buffet here. And then immediately after, Focused Deluge. So the Squall Buffet is basically going to knock you back, one in particular person. And let's actually see that again. So Squall Buffet, and you can see it's knocking the Paladin back there. And it's going to follow up with Focused Deluge, where it's channeling water at that person. You want to get into melee as quickly as possible for this. Otherwise, he'll do massive AoE damage. What's going to happen after that is, again, you should be getting to 60% health at some point, and this is where he then casts Castaway, where you go all the way down the corridor, and different people will actually go down different directions, and it's a gauntlet where you have to avoid these water globules and also the tsunamis that are going to go from left to right, and get back to the boss as soon as possible. When we get back down, you're going to see there's actually not 2, but 4 Primalist Infusers. What they're doing is they're casting Infuse on the boss, and every 5 seconds, they're actually going to add another 1% damage to the boss. So nuking these down as quickly as possible and then getting back into technically phase 1 of the fight is really, really a high priority here. So if you're the healer, don't be standing around. Make sure you're doing damage. Otherwise, you are going to be making your life harder. Because again, the longer these 4 infusers are casting, the more damage the boss will do when he comes back up. And that is pretty much it for the Primal Tsunami and therefore Halls of Infusion in Season 4. I hope you enjoyed this video, guys. Let me know in the comments. If you need any more help, do join the Discord. We've got a load of really knowledgeable players and a community, including myself, of course, who can help you out. If you like my UI that you see in this video, or you would just like to support the channel, you can, of course, join my Patreon. There's a link down below in the description for that. And if you would like to see other dungeon guides or PvE or PvP class guides for Season 4 of Dragonflight, click this playlist here because I've got them all there waiting for you.